Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieve. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
All right, hey everyone out there in Banjo Land, Mike Heading here, coming to you today with the detailed backup lesson for the classic, beautiful old hymn, Amazing Grace. This is one of my favorite melodies of all time. You can't get tired of this melody, and we're going to break down how to play backup to this beautiful melody. So this song's in 3/4, so 3/4 time signature, which is really important. We've only got 3 beats per measure, which I know can sometimes throw banjo players off if you're used to playing in 4/4 time. I know I struggled with that when I first started. And this is a great lesson to get used to playing backup in 3/4, which is really important. There's a lot of great bluegrass songs in 3/4. Amazing Grace, All the Good Times Are Past and Gone, Down in the Willow Garden, just to name a couple. A lot of these licks and ideas for backup you could apply to those songs as well. So I've got 2 chorus backups and 1 verse backup for Amazing Grace. I'm going to break them down, all 3 of them in detail, and then show you again how I'd fit these in with what Clint is singing and playing on the guitar. And if you're watching the preview of this lesson, you can head over to my website, MikeHeadingMusic.com. You can grab the full-length lesson. You can get access to watch all the videos, and you can download the tabs and the practice tracks. All right, here's the detailed backup lesson for Amazing Grace. All right, so let's start breaking down this backup lesson for Amazing Grace. So there's no pickup in the backup. We're just going to start right in measure 1. And let me play the first 4 measures, and then I'll start breaking it down. Here we go. Let's do that a couple times. One more time, real slow. Okay, so we're going to start with a 2/4 slide on the 4th string, and remember, really important, we're in 3/4 time, so we only have 3 beats per measure, not 4. So we're going to have to modify our rolls very slightly. If you're not used to playing in 3/4, this is a great lesson to start with that and get familiar. So we're going to start with our classic 2/5 slide on the 4th string with a forward roll. So T-I-M with my right hand, strings 4, 3, 1. And I'm lining that slide up with, when I get up to the 5th fret, I'm hitting my index finger of my right hand. And then I'm going to go and do 5, 3, 1, another forward roll. And remember, since we're in 3/4, we don't have those 2 extra notes. So the forward roll pattern in 3/4 is just 2 forward rolls. So it actually works out a little bit easier in 3/4 because we can just play 2 forward rolls, 6 notes is 6/8 notes is 3/4 notes. So let's just loop that a few times. So we're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So just a classic forward roll. Remember, in backup, we're just kind of trying to stay away from the melody. Remember, the melody is. break it down as we go along, but I kind of just think of that initial 2-5 slide as basically just hitting the root note. So we're just finding that note on a lower string, and that's just a really safe note to play. We're in the key of G, and we're basically just playing kind of an open G. I call it like a generic roll, where you could sing or play a melody on top of that, and it's not really going to get in the way too much. The other thing I'm doing with this song is swinging it a little bit, or adding a little bit of bounce. So I'm not playing it super straight, I'm adding a little bit of swing, and I think just listening to the vocals and how Clint is strumming it on the guitar will help you. I'm just really just trying to link up with what he laid down when he strummed and sang the song. So that's what I'm doing there. So again, add a little bit of a bounce to it. You can kind of think of a good example is if you do thumb, index, thumb, middle, you can really hear it. That old cowboy going down the trail. That's how I think of it, as like a horse walking down the trail. That's how I think of it. And just remember. So I'm adding just a little bit of that bounce, and you don't have to get that right away, but that's just one thing to think about that'll help the backup play along with the lead a little bit better. So let's do that. Let's do measure one more time. Here we go. And then right here, I'm going to slide my second finger down to 3rd fret, which will basically create like a G7 chord, which is going to set up our C in measure 3. I also noticed that Clint did that on the guitar. I believe he played a 7th chord, which is a great leading chord. So I basically just mimicked that when I created the backup lesson. So we slide up to 5 and with the forward roll. And then we're going to slide down to 3 and do that exact same forward roll just without the slide. So. And again, just kind of a generic sounding roll that's not going to get in the way too much. We're adding that 7th note in the bass, so in the lowest note we have. So let's do those first 2 measures. Here we go. And then for measure 3, we're going to reach our first finger of our left hand up to the 1st fret of the 2nd string, our thumb of our right hand up to the 2nd string. Play that note for beat 1, and then hit your middle finger, and then go forward 5, 2, 1. So you have 1, 2, and 3, and then for measure 4, we're going to hit the open 3rd string, and then pinch the outside strings twice. So let's break down 3 and 4 we have. Put a quarter on beat 1 of measure 3. That's really the trickiest part. And then don't rush through these pinches. They're all quarter notes as well. 1, 2, 3. So what are we doing here? Let's break it down a little bit. So basically the melody it starts lower, and then it goes down. So we're basically doing kind of the opposite of that. We're starting down low, crossing the melody and going up and hitting this C up here, and then doing kind of a forward roll that stays out of the way. And then right here there's a pause in the vocals. That's a great spot to either throw a lick, which we'll do later. In this case, I'm just going to do a pinch. So it's basically, we're just adding a little accent there that kind of fills that up. How sweet the sound. He's going to sing sound, and then I'm going to play those. You'll hear there's a little space right there. So again, really important to stay out of the way of the melody. So I wouldn't roll on my C down here, something like that, which maybe in a different song would work well. But in this case, I want to stay away from that low melody. So I'm going up here. And that roll in measure 3, we're going to do that one a lot in this song on different combinations of strings, but that thumb and then middle, thumb, index, middle, it's a really great roll. It has space at the beginning, which I really like because it helps you hear that first note. The other thing you can think about for the first couple measures is I basically kind of like embedded a bass line in there, which would be, playing the root there, the 7th note, which leads nicely to the C, and then I'm going up and hitting the C note, and then back to the root. So just a subtle thing, very subtle thing, but again, it helps you imply more of the chords, especially if you don't have a bass player. In this example, it's just me and Clint playing the song together. So I'm kind of embedding some of those little bass lines into my backup, a small but important detail. Remember, we're trying to stay away from the melody. So let's play those first 4 measures one more time. Here we go. Okay, now let's listen to how me and Clint did that a few times.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
All right, so now that you've heard how me and Clint did that, let's move on. So measure 5, we're back to that classic forward roll on the 4th string. And then right here we're going to do a little fill lick, which is basically a modification of the 4/4 version of this lick. We're going to go forward, 5-3-1 TIM, back to our index finger on the 3rd string, and then 2nd fret on the 4th string. And basically that's going to lead down to an open D in measure 7. So we have... I'll play it into measure 7. I think that helps you hear the line that I'm trying to imply there. And that measure 6 is a great fill lick. You might have heard it in 4/4, which would have one more quarter note at the beginning, usually the open 3rd string. Might have heard that lick. So again, a lot of these 3/4 licks are just modifications of 4/4 licks. You basically have to cut one quarter note out somewhere. So in this case, I just took out the open 3rd string to start it, and then I just did the roll, which converted it to 3/4. Again, I'm implying another bass line there up to the 5th fret, which is our G, down to the 2nd fret, and then open to measure 7. Which is it's a walk down to the D chord. So that's really what I'm doing there. I'm thinking again, staying away from the melody. So the melody goes up there, right? Right? So we basically just did the opposite of that. So the melody goes up this time. So I went down. So in terms of pitch. So. Now measure 7, so open 4th string, that's our D, and then 2-finger D chord, 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, basically that open kind of D chord there, just an open 2-finger D chord there. And I'm going to do that same roll that I did for my C lick, so open 4th string, middle finger, and then roll forward 3-2-1. So you have... I just wanted kind of a generic D lick that didn't play too much on those higher strings. We are hitting that higher string, but again, I put an accent on beat 1. So I really want to bring out that low note there. That also helps you keep the timing. And then for measure 8, you might have to take off your 2nd finger, but we're going to reach our 3rd finger up to the 4th fret of the 4th string, play that note, and then do that similar roll, middle finger, and then 4-3-1. So I'd probably take off your 2nd finger there, that'll help. So you have... I'm just going to loop those two. And then back to open 3rd string for measure 9. So again, we embedded another bass line in there, so open, and then 4th fret, and then back to open. So we're basically embedding a bass line down to that D, and then back up. So subtle things there, but I'm really putting kind of a bass walk at the beginning of those measures, so that open D string, 4th fret, D string for measure 8 and then open 3rd string for measure 9. It really helps, again, give the chord movement is what I'm trying to say. It helps, again, imply more of the chords than are really there. If you're just rolling, which sounds good, it's not bad, but again, if you add a little bit of those bass walks, it really helps imply the chords. So let's play 5 through the beginning of 9. Here we go.